Welcome to another episode of the It's Bucket Show. My name is Brian Condon, and I go by Buckets to my 50,000 Instagram followers. I'm a professional sports gambler, and I quit my 9-to-5 to bet on the NBA. I'm a sports betting consultant. I've been doing this for 10 years. I started it in 2016 in my senior year dorm room in college. We're now in 2026, and the NBA Finals just ended half an hour ago here on the East Coast in Connecticut. It's now midnight. I'm going to try to react to these NBA Final games and make this the first series I have ever covered so I could start to expand my platform and grow my content instead of just giving out free bets and selling my VIP bets. And if you want to join my VIP, I'll put the link in the bio, but this isn't a sales pitch. This is just me trying to get my reps in. I realize I am not good at this podcasting stuff. I'm not good at this talking long form. If you go watch my videos, it's all the same format. I'm giving out bets every day, but I don't really give much about me, much about the life of a professional sports bettor, much about my reasoning, my thoughts behind the game, the players, the teams, the chemistry, the drama, the highlights, the stats, the analytics, all that. And I mean, the fact that I quit my 9-to-5 to bet on the NBA speaks for itself. I really don't have to tell you how much I love the NBA. Let's just get right into the game because we had a banger between the Knicks and the Spurs, game one of the 2026 NBA Finals, and can't wait to give you my full breakdown of it. I took some notes here, but first, this episode is brought to you by Polymarket. You could trade sports in all 50 states, but if you use my code BUCKETS, you will get a $50 bonus just for depositing 20. It's actually a pretty sick deal. Works in all 50 states. You put in 20, you start with 70, free bread on the table. Don't leave it there. Let's get right to the game, though, and let me look at my notes real quick. And the Spurs responded with a 12-0 run led by Dylan Harper early in the game. They were down 7-14 and went on a 12-0 run to take the lead 19-14. And one of my favorite parts about this game was Landry Shamet and Julian Champagnie have been the two hottest three-point shooters in the entire NBA playoffs, and they both came in this game scorching, did not miss a beat from where they left off. So after that 12-0 run, Shamet comes down, answers with a three, immediately re-answered by another three by Julian Champagnie. You love to see how both teams have their X-Factor guys still firing on all cylinders. So after Champagnie's three, it was a 5-point game, Spurs up 22-17, and then all of a sudden, there was Harrison Barnes, I'm pretty sure, was coming in through the baseline. He got pushed by Shamet. Really, Shamet was trying to brace his impact when, you got Harrison Barnes sprinting into the baseline. Landry Shamet kind of bumps Harrison Barnes to the foul line. He goes falling onto his back, lands his back into Jalen Brunson's knee. Jalen Brunson's knee buckles. He instantly waves to the bench, limps off the court pretty badly, goes into the locker room, comes back out. They're trying out a knee brace on him. Things aren't looking really good for the Knicks. The entire world was scared that, oh my God, we're going to see another superstar get hurt in the finals, just like last year with Tyrese Halliburton, Do not want to see that. That would be a nightmare for the league, a nightmare for really all NBA fans. But I was glad to see Jalen Brunson respond and actually, lead his team to a win in a game where they were 4.5-point underdogs. So eventually Jalen Brunson comes back, and then shortly after you see him go down again, and then Luke Cornett steps on his ankle, and you think, oh my God, he hurts his knee, he hurts his ankle on the same leg. Like, this is the worst luck ever. It's just some more New York Knicks luck that they've been having for the past, my entire lifetime, past 31 years. And in the second quarter, I really feel like we found some deja vu. It was a lot of back and forth. Knicks were down 2 with 2.5 minutes left, and then Landry Shamet hits one of the craziest shots he has hit, which is crazy to say because he's been hitting crazy shots all series long. And Landry Shamet almost gave the Knicks a 1-point lead going into halftime, but then Julian Champagnie comes back and hits 2 threes within a minute just for Jalen Brunson to come back up. Cookies from Fox. Breakaway layup. Just for Fit Cat to come back. Missed a floater. Just for Fox to then run the offense for the last play of the game. He's pointing in all directions. He drives the lane. Pick and roll. Vassell to the corner. Brunson's trying to push him baseline. Cuts in. Splits the defenders. Kicks it out to Julian Champagnie for his 5th three of the first half. After hitting 6 threes in the last game, Julian Champagnie came out torching the New York Knicks. It felt like it was already over because it was just Knicks up 1. Now they're going down 7 into halftime with all the momentum going the Spurs' ways. Let's talk about the second half, though, because it's been, like I said, a fumbled bag by both teams. So the Spurs felt like they had it going into halftime, fumbled the bag. Because real simple, they took that 7-point lead, came out in the third quarter, extended it to a 14-point lead. And then the real Knicks run happened, and Knicks went on a 12-2 run. And the Spurs went into halftime with that 7-point lead, came out of halftime, immediately extending that lead to 14 points. And just when it felt like, all right, this game is really starting to get away from the Knicks, you know what it is. It's a game of runs, a 12-2 run for the New York Knicks. They ended up tying it with 2 minutes left to go in the third. Going into the fourth, we now have a tie game. We have a brand new basketball game. 12 minutes to see who can win game one of the NBA Finals. And let's talk about how the fourth quarter went. But everyone knows it's a game of runs in basketball. So with this 8-point lead, what did the Knicks do? It's pretty clear and obvious where they fucked up. Josh Hart gets a steal, and instead of going on a fast break layup, hard to the hoop, drawing foul, getting contact, doing something with the ball, he's like, oh, we're up 8 points. And you get the vibe that the entire team was like, all right, we're up 8 points. We need to use 24 seconds on every single shot clock. That way, if we go cold, we'll at least try to extend this and use as many possessions as we can. So if they don't have the ball, they can't score. So we're just going to burn clock, right? But burning clock is one of the biggest momentum killers. Burning clock is actually a detriment to a team like the Knicks, who is going off fire, going off, momentum, layup, three, and then all of a sudden they're dribbling out, right? They end up not getting a shot off of that. And what happens? Wemby comes back and one. And then what happens again? They do it again. Jalen Brunson, dribble it out. 17-foot contested 2, miss. What happens? Wemby comes back, hits a 3. Now that 8-point game is a 2-point game. And now you're like, wow, I just saw the Spurs collapse their 14-point lead. I just saw the Knicks collapse their 8-point lead to a 2-point lead. And this is where all the energy changes for me. You could see the entire Knicks organization. It's like they had a collective thought of, oh my God, we just got to steal from Josh Hart. We're up 8 points. We can preserve this lead if we use 24 seconds on every single shot clock, and that can ruin a team's momentum. They can be their own detriment when they try to play the burn the clock game. Because all of a sudden, burning the clock became a missed layup, which turned into Jalen Brunson burning 22 seconds out of a 24-second shot clock just to get a contested 17-footer, miss. And then come back, contested 15-footer, miss. And in the meantime, on the other end of the floor, we got the Spurs. Julian Champagnie, a shooter. What's he doing? Going and getting fouled, getting a free throw. Wemby, what's he doing? Hitting a clutch 3. Wemby again, what's he doing? Hitting an and 1. And now the Spurs are up 1, and we're like, wow. We just saw the Spurs go up 14, ruin their lead. We saw the Knicks go up 8, ruin their lead. And now we have a 5-minute game. The entire game 1 comes down to who can win the last 5 minutes. And with 2 minutes left, Victor Wembanyama has an incredible and 1 play to go up 1 with 2 minutes left. You hear Mike Breen give the announcer's curse to the Spurs. They said the Knicks haven't scored in 4 minutes. And then as soon as he says that, the ball gets swung to Jalen Brunson in the corner, and you hear the famous Mike Breen bang. Jalen Brunson hits a 3, and then guess who goes scoreless for the last 2 minutes of the game? The Knicks end up winning by 10 because the Spurs didn't score a single point for the last 2 minutes. So we have a 2-minute game. The entire game gets decided by what can the Spurs do, what can the Knicks do in the last 2 minutes of the game. And it was simple. I found the turning point of the game. After that Jalen Brunson 3, the Knicks came back and tried to burn more clock. The Spurs actually played really good defense, right? They passed the ball to Bridges on the elbow. He gets Fox with the shot fake, but then Fox jumps. He doesn't even take the shot to draw the foul. He then goes to pass it. Fox then fouls him. Mid-pass, sends him to the free throw line, and with a 2-minute game, at the end of a shot clock, they're not even attempting a shot. You cannot make a foul like that. That is where the game completely slipped away, because now the Knicks can play the game completely differently from the Knicks having to make a stop down 2 to, oh, now we're down 4 and we need to make a stop. So the Spurs get the ball back after those really deflating free throws from Bridges and really unnecessary and terrible foul at the worst time of the game from Fox. Wemby then comes back on the other end of the court, and he dribbles the ball off his foot. That's not why the Spurs didn't come back. Jalen Brunson then has the opportunity to hit a hero shot. He comes down, fading away, crazy floater, push, shove type of shot. Looked like a Hartenstein type of shot, one of those shots that goes up so high and comes down, it barely hits the net. At that point, you want to talk about deflating, that's pretty bad. At that point, you really can't come back from that, and that wrapped up the game, essentially. There was no points scored in the last minutes of the game. All right, I'm back. My dog heard me talking at 1 in the morning in the basement, which he's not used to because I'm not used to doing these podcast stuff. Actually, about these podcasts, if you go back to my previous episodes from earlier in the year, you could see I was in a whole new setup. The reason I had to switch things, the reason I had to basically stop doing podcasts is because I had my room, my podcast room, set up next to my son's room. So every time he took a nap, that was my only time to really do a podcast episode. And then I was too loud in my podcast episode room. My son kept waking up from his nap, so I had to kind of give up recording podcasts until I found a new space to record. So that's kind of why I fell off from the podcasting. But like I said, this episode is probably going to be shit. And I'm not really trying to make a good episode at this point. I'm just trying to get my reps in so years from now, I could then start putting out better episodes. Mamba mentality, you put more reps in than your competition, you're just going to eventually be better than them. I'm in it for the long game. I just turned 31 years old, and I did some studying, some research on some of my idols, and Brian Windhorse, one of the NBA analyst legends in the space. I'm pretty sure he started with ESPN somewhere around my age. So if I could just be in his shoes in 17 years, I just have to put in reps for 17 years to be doing what he's doing. I think he was just on the court at the game, and would be nice to be on podcast row one day in the NBA finals. Got to manifest those dreams, got to speak into the world. And that's not being cliche. I truly do believe in that stuff. If you believe something hard enough and say it enough times, you can make it come true. But you got to put the work in with it. And hopefully this episode can inspire you to maybe create some of your own content, because my content was able to change my life, and I hope to work hard and inspire others. That's been my mission statement since I started this thing. I know when I ran upstairs to go see my dog, that was kind of, good timing because it was the end of the fourth quarter. I don't really know how this reaction went. Leave some comments. Let me know what else you would like to see me talk about. I had other stuff docked up, but I feel like this is kind of just a good time to close the episode out. And I will be back for game two. And let's just try to keep banging these episodes out until we constantly improve and get to where we want to be. I appreciate you all for watching. Drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel so I can take this thing to the moon and really try to be better with this podcast thing as a consistent basis for the entire next year. And follow along for my sports betting tips. I give away free bets every single day. And as always, you already know, it's buckets. Let's go.